As wild as things have been at the Walt Disney Company the last several years, Paramount is going to give them a run for their money, especially in the next couple of days. It's not much of a secret that CEO Bob Bakish at Paramount has been a bit at odds with majority owner Sherry Redstone and the national amusement group that owns some 77% of the voting shares of Paramount. But with their earnings call today on Monday, April 29th, this afternoon, which we hope to be covering live, stay tuned for that, we might just find out that Bob Bakish is no longer the CEO of Paramount, being forced out in a bit of a coup, not unlike what we saw roughly 20 years ago with Michael Eisner at the Walt Disney Company, losing the faith of the controlling stockholders and the board of directors. And with a deal being in the works right now, with people like SKYDANCE Media to merge with Paramount, and rumored to be others like Sony Pictures looking at a buyout of Paramount CBS, things are about to get potentially even crazier. Renegade Online. All right, let's talk about this real quick, just as kind of a preview. We're going to have more information on this tomorrow because this is what we know as of right now. This is a Variety article, but I want to go back to the Wall Street Journal article here that covered it. Paramount considers removing CEO Bob Bakish as turmoil over the sale talks deepen. And this is the sale. SKYDANCE, David Ellison, son of Oracle founder Larry Ellison, who runs SKYDANCE, somebody he brought in John Lasseter for a period to put together movies, and has been, obviously, SKYDANCE is responsible as the studio and production house for a lot of the Tom Cruise movies, Top Gun Maverick, Mission Impossible, the work a lot with Tom Cruise and Christopher McQuarrie. So this is a studio I'd love to see merge with Paramount because, look, they've got a good track record of making good stuff. All right, so let's talk about this. Paramount Global's board is considering, this is the board of directors, is considering replacing Chief Executive Bob Bakish and installing a committee of top executives to run Paramount on an interim basis. So think COO, CFO, Chief Diversity Officer. No, I'm kidding. Who knows? This day and age. According to people familiar with the situation, a stunning move that would come as the company... This is in the middle of a major deal they're trying to strike with SKYDANCE. Under the plan being discussed, the board of Paramount and controlling shareholder National Amusements, which is still owned by the Redstone family, in this case, Sherry Redstone, would put in place a, quote, an office of the CEO made up of the company's division heads upon Bob Bakish's departure. No decision has been made about Bakish's future. It's possible the board could keep him in place. Bakish was named CEO of Viacom, which later reverted to the name of Paramount, which includes CBS, back in 2016. The other wing of her family's media empire, which CBS, back in 2019. He was chosen partly because of his management of Viacom's international operations, which had been a growth engine. Sherry Redstone and some board members have soured on Bob's leadership over time, questioning whether he pursued strategic opportunities for the company aggressively enough, including a potential sale of the Showtime channel. Some senior leaders at Paramount also have raised concerns internally about Bakish's stewardship over the past several years, and that's Sherry Redstone right there. Paramount, home to such brands as CBS, MTV, Nickelodeon, and the Paramount Film Studio, including Star Trek, has struggled as its legacy cable TV business has continued to erode. We all know why. That's just what's going on in the marketplace right now. While its streaming service is growing quickly but not yet generating profits, Paramount's market value has fallen in the past 4 years from $25 to $8 billion. So that is a big problem right there.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, quite a shift, Jonas, huh?
This is amazing to me. The idea that the rumor is, of course, that he's going to be fired, or, well, sorry, he will part ways. However you want to term it, he'll be terminated before the shareholders meeting. That's going to be an awkward shareholders meeting.
Yeah, and that's what they're talking about right now. Removing Bakish, they say, would already add more confusion to an already thorny sale process. Paramount is currently in exclusive merger talks with SKYDANCE. Under the proposed transaction, SKYDANCE's backers would pay. Now, this is a kicker. Under the proposed transaction, SKYDANCE's backers would pay roughly $2 billion in cash for control of National Amusements. Now, National Amusements, again, that's the company, the holding company, effectively, that's controlled by Sherry Redstone and that has a 77% voting stake in Paramount, right? So they own the bulk, the controlling interest of outstanding Paramount shares. They also own a chain of movie theaters. So they're going to get $2 billion in cash. The second step of the deal, Paramount would merge with SKYDANCE. So again, they're going to pay $2 billion in cash, plus I'm sure some other concessions as well, but $2 billion in cash to National Amusements, and to get control, that's 77% of the Paramount shares. In the second step of the deal, Paramount would then merge with SKYDANCE in a $5 billion all-stock transaction. Many shareholders, like regular shareholders, like normal people out there of Paramount, have complained that the deal would favor Redstone's National Amusements, giving it a cash premium while leaving other non-voting shareholders with diluted stock in Paramount. It's a justified question. The exclusivity window for negotiations between Paramount and SKYDANCE expires on May 3rd. That's later this week. That's like in 5 days or 6 days. That's this coming weekend, I believe. It's unclear if exclusive negotiations will be extended. Paramount reports its earnings on Monday. Bakish has told investors that executing the SKYDANCE deal would be challenging. An independent committee of the board has been tasked with weighing the best course for all shareholders and has another potential option that some shareholders say that they would prefer: a $26 billion all-cash offer from Apollo Global Management. Now, the board had concerns about Apollo's bid, including whether it could arrange financing for the deal. But people familiar with the situation said that since then, Apollo has discussed teaming up with Sony Pictures. So $8 billion is what the market says right now Paramount is worth, according to its market cap and outstanding shares. Apollo now allegedly teaming up with Sony, and the rumor number is $26 billion all cash. Woo.
That would fix a lot of problems.
That would fix all the problems, I think, for generally speaking. So the point is that this is wild right now, and there's probably going to be a boatload of questions tomorrow. Tensions between Sherry Redstone and Bakish have been growing. She told associates that as SKYDANCE talks were proceeding, Bob Bakish was pursuing other deal conversations, including over potential streaming service partnership with Comcast, without keeping her or the board in the loop, say people familiar with the situation. That's probably a big no-no. Bakish and the cable giant had discussed a potential joint venture between Paramount and Peacock, but where that is right now, nobody knows. Redstone has also placed blame for on Bob Bakish for the company's overall predicament, one she views as missed chances to strike sound deals. She was open to selling Showtime, but Bakish turned down Showtime bids in recent years, ultimately integrated its programming into a souped-up version of the Paramount Plus streaming service. But again, it's what Wall Street was demanding: streaming, subscribers, numbers at all costs. Bob Bakish, like a lot of other folks out there, was following what Wall Street was dictating at the time. So can't entirely fault him for that, although it had been nice if some more CEOs would have seen the writing on the wall sooner.
Yeah.
So
yeah. It's interesting, too, because I kept hearing about this, the movie theaters that they also own.
Yep. National Amusements.
I just looked it up. 1,500 screens in the northeastern United States, which is where it all started with Sumner Redstone's father. the UK, and Latin America. They apparently have quite a few in Brazil and other places like that. So, my first thought was, oh, the last thing anybody needs now are movie theaters. But they could profitably sell those or spin those off once this happens, I think.
Yeah. And theoretically, they would have to, because if they then directly control, see, the whole idea now is Paramount, owning its own chain of movie theaters with distribution.
Yeah, that takes us back to the consent decree days when they made them stop that stuff.
Exactly. That back in the 60s and 70s or 70s, I guess it was.
49 was
it
when the consent decree happened. Yes.
Oh, I thought it was later than that. Okay.
No,
Okay.
It was right after World War II when the antitrust department got all revved up about that.
So, I don't know. I don't think Skydance wants to operate theaters in this day and age. I don't blame
No, not at all.
So sell it off. You try to sell them off to a theater operator like an AMC or a Regal or maybe even a Marcus Theaters and see if they want to pick up some of them.
But I'm saying there may be locals in some of these other countries that would like to buy their piece of those.
Oh, the international ones for sure.
Yeah.
But this is an update from Variety. So this is more recent, and Variety has just outright stated Bob Bakish is out as Paramount and Global CEO. And what they say here is, and this was from today, Bakish is expected to resign under pressure as early as Monday, tomorrow. The executive has been with Paramount and Viacom, blah, 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 since 97. So they're saying that, if he resigns as early as, he's not going to do an earnings call tomorrow and then just resign right after. He's just not going to be on it. And if Bob Bakish isn't on that earnings call tomorrow morning,
then the first thing they announce on the call is that he's gone.
That's it.
Yeah. And then the stock goes into the toilet.
Well, it's kind of hard to go further down the toilet.
Maybe not. Yeah, because it might be, hey, anything else is this. It implies that the deal with Skydance is further along than we know.
Yes, exactly.
Because they want him out of the way before that can be consummated. It could very well have been part of the deal.
Yeah. They say here, Variety says a rep for Paramount declined to comment. The company is set to report first quarter earnings Monday. Bob Bakish will not take part in the traditional conference call with analysts that accompanies quarterly earnings disclosures, CNBC.
And you want a prediction?
Yeah.
He's going to become the Bob Chapek of Paramount, the guy they blame everything on.
Yep. Yeah. Well, look, to be fair,
which is probably justified. You don't keep out of the loop the woman who owns 75% of your company when you're making these deals or not making them. You say, Sherry, what would you like me to do? Thank you very much, ma'am.
Or at the very least, the board of directors, right? That would be his immediate report, would be the board itself. But Bakish has been there as CEO for 8 years, thereabout. So yes, there is a lot of legitimate blame that can be placed at his feet for certain things. He's been the decision maker. He wasn't there for 10 months and 2 weeks, with autonomy.
Right.
He was there for 8 years. But CNBC is saying that Bob Bakish, global board preparing to fire Bob Bakish as soon as Monday morning. Bakish not expected to be on the company's Monday earnings call. So I think what you said, Lou, is correct. I think what we can expect tomorrow morning on this earnings call is going to be that they're going to announce that Bob Bakish is no longer with the company and that we have a team already set up that is going to be the CFO and head of studios and chief operating officer and all this. They're going to be our team that's going to be managing this company in the interim until a replacement is named. By the way, on that end, let's talk about the merger, because that replacement might just be David Ellison, with Skydance.
Makes sense.
And it might just be, total speculation. Maybe they've made the deal, and maybe that'll get announced tomorrow.
Well, I don't think you announce one without the other. We'll see. But look, here's the other thing: is that this is. Again, they have to assess the veracity of Apollo's offer, but if they legitimately have Sony as a financing partner for this, man, that would work. But you got to see how real that is, because Sony, and here's the thing, guys and girls out there watching, Skydance buying Paramount not so much an issue. Skydance is kind of a mid-major player in the Hollywood studio space, right? They don't even distribute their own films. They're distributing through, as we've seen before, Paramount and other places like that. Apple TV is another one. So they don't have a broadcast television station like ABC, NBC, CBS. They don't have a huge proprietary linear broadcast.
So there's no regulatory obstacle.
Merging with Paramount is not going to cause much of a fuss. Sony coming in and outright buying Paramount would be an issue because Sony is a major player. They're a studio, they're a distributor. They bought out Columbia TriStar years ago. They're a big player. Comcast would be the same thing. They wouldn't allow Comcast to buy Paramount because Paramount owns CBS. And I think the first thing that happens is, if Skydance comes in to start managing this thing, is they look at, do we keep CBS and linear broadcast? Paramount has a lot of that. That's still a money machine for them. I think they do in the short term, but there's no FTC issue here, Federal Trade Commission. There's no FCC, Federal Communications Commission issue here in terms of one company now owning two major broadcast channels. This is why a Disney or NBC Universal or Fox could come in and acquire this. This cannot happen. So that's the differential here. But Skydance coming in, or an Apollo perhaps coming in with Sony as a financial backer, maybe is a little bit different play that they want to try. But that there's a big dichotomy between the deal that it sounds like Skydance is offering versus what $26 million in cash allegedly being offered by Apollo, which seems incredible. But we'll know more tomorrow. Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.